Okay, so I need to talk about something that has been bugging me for 2 straight years. When Kung Fu Panda 4 came out in 2024, everybody was hyped. Tai Lung was back, Lord Shen was back, Kai was back, and we all sat down expecting one of the most emotional movies in the franchise. And then we walked out feeling like something was missing. Most people couldn't figure out what. They just felt it. Like the movie had a hole in it. Like Tai Lung's whole arc didn't actually finish. Well, I went digging, and I found out why. Because there was a scene in Kung Fu Panda 4, a scene that was actually written, actually storyboarded, actually planned to be in the final cut. A scene between Tai Lung and Shifu that would have been the most emotional moment in the entire franchise. And at the last minute, they deleted it. And once you understand what that scene was, you're going to realize Kung Fu Panda 4 was supposed to be a completely different movie, a much better one. Let me show you. So here's the thing, nobody tells you about Kung Fu Panda 4. When the trailers dropped, when we saw Tai Lung walking through that golden mist, when we heard Ian McShane's voice come back after 16 years,
the Tai Lung lives.
Every single fan thought the same thing. We were finally going to get the Shifu and Tai Lung reunion, because that's the unfinished business of the entire franchise. Think about it. Shifu raised Tai Lung from a cub. Shifu was the only father he ever knew. Shifu fed him, trained him, loved him, believed in him, and then in one moment, when Oogway said no to the Dragon Scroll, Shifu just stood there and didn't say anything, and Tai Lung was dragged off to prison for 20 years. That was the wound the entire franchise was built on. Shifu's biggest regret, Tai Lung's deepest pain, and we never got to see it healed. So when Tai Lung came back in KFP 4, every fan in the world was waiting for one scene, just one, where these two finally look at each other again and say what they should have said 20 years ago. And we never got it. Now, most people just assumed DreamWorks didn't think to write it, but here's what I found out. They did write it. They had it ready, and then they killed it. And the reason why is genuinely upsetting. Okay, so let me walk you through what was actually planned. According to development discussions and storyboard breakdowns that leaked from the production, the original version of Kung Fu Panda 4 had a completely different structure. In that version, Shifu wasn't just sitting safely back at the Jade Palace giving Po pep talks. Shifu was supposed to be captured by the chameleon partway through the film. Let that sink in. Shifu was going to be the hostage. The whole emotional stakes of the movie were going to revolve around saving him, and that meant Po wasn't going to rescue him alone, because in the original version, when Po and Zhen sneak into the chameleon's lair, they were going to find Shifu locked up, and standing right next to him, another prisoner, Tai Lung. The chameleon had captured them both, and the scene that was supposed to play out next is the one fans have been crying about for 2 years, because for the first time since the original Kung Fu Panda, Tai Lung and Shifu would be in the same room, with no swords, no kung fu, no escape, forced to look at each other. The storyboard talks describe a quiet moment, just the two of them. Before Po breaks them out, Tai Lung doesn't roar, Shifu doesn't fight, they just sit there, across from each other, and have the conversation they should have had 20 years ago. Tai Lung was supposed to ask Shifu the one question he had been carrying since he was a child. Why didn't you stand up for me? And Shifu was supposed to answer and admit that he had been wrong. That pride had blinded him. That he had loved Tai Lung like a son and failed him like a coward. That the day Tai Lung was sent away was the worst day of his entire life. And Tai Lung, for the first time, wasn't supposed to scream, wasn't supposed to attack. He was supposed to cry just once, silently, while a snow leopard who had spent 20 years in chains finally hears the words, "I'm sorry," from the only father he ever had. That was the scene we were supposed to get. And then they cut it. Now here's where it gets frustrating, because the reason this scene got removed isn't a creative one, it's a corporate one. Director Mike Mitchell took over Kung Fu Panda 4 with a different vision than the previous directors, and there are reports from inside the production that the studio wanted KFP 4 to be lighter, more comedic, more focused on Po and a new sidekick character, so they could set up sequels and spin-offs around her. That new character was Zhen, and once Zhen became the emotional center of the movie, there wasn't room for Tai Lung's redemption anymore. There wasn't room for Shifu's regret. There wasn't room for the most important emotional payoff in the entire franchise. So they cut it. Shifu was rewritten so he never gets captured. He just stays at the Jade Palace giving advice in the background. Tai Lung was reduced to a mind-controlled puppet of the chameleon for most of his screen time. And that quiet, emotional scene between father and son was thrown out of the script before they even got to animation. And look, I am not here to hate on Mike Mitchell. He made the movie he was asked to make. But this decision, this one specific decision, gutted the heart out of Kung Fu Panda 4. Because here's what happened instead. In the version we got, Shifu and Tai Lung never share a single scene together. Not one. Think about that. The original villain comes back after 16 years, and the man who raised him doesn't even get to look him in the eye. They don't even talk. They don't even acknowledge each other exists. Ian McShane and Dustin Hoffman recorded their lines for this movie completely separately and never had a single line of dialogue with each other. In a movie where their characters' relationship is the entire emotional foundation of the franchise. That is the cinematic crime of the decade. And most people who watched the movie didn't even notice it was missing because they couldn't put their finger on what felt wrong. Now some of you might be saying, okay, but Tai Lung did get redemption in KFP 4. At the very end, he tells Po that maybe Oogway was right about him all along, and he hands the staff over. That's a redemption. I get the argument. I really do. But think about how hollow that scene actually is. Tai Lung's whole life was about Shifu, not Po. Po met Tai Lung once for one fight. 20 years after Tai Lung's pain started, Po isn't the one who hurt him. Po isn't the one who needs to apologize. Po is just the guy who beat him. So when Tai Lung gives the staff to Po and says Oogway was right, that's not redemption, that's surrender. That's a defeated man acknowledging his replacement. It's not healing. It's just exhaustion. Real redemption for Tai Lung would have required the conversation he never got to have with the only person who ever mattered to him, and that person is Shifu. Think about how Lord Shen's arc ended in KFP 2. He sat down, he closed his eyes, he accepted what was happening to him, because Po showed him a kind of peace he had never known. That ending hit because Shen got real closure. Tai Lung never got that. He got a shrug and a staff handoff, and you can feel it. That's the hole in Kung Fu Panda 4 that you couldn't name. It's the hole where Shifu was supposed to be standing. And here's the part that genuinely breaks my heart when I think about it. Go back and rewatch the original Kung Fu Panda. Specifically, the scene where Tai Lung escapes prison, and Shifu is sitting in the Jade Palace. And Oogway tells him, "You must believe." And Shifu starts crying. And he says that line that wrecks everyone. "My own son could not even believe in me. And now look, I am to face him again." Shifu called him his son in the first movie, before Tai Lung even arrives at the palace. That one line confirms everything we needed to know. Shifu never stopped seeing Tai Lung as his child. Through 20 years of silence, through betrayal, through the destruction of his pride, Shifu still loved him. Now imagine that scene from KFP 4 with this context. Shifu and Tai Lung locked up together, and the first thing Shifu does is reach his small paw out and just touch Tai Lung's face, like he used to when Tai Lung was a cub. They had the most beautiful father and son redemption story in animated film history sitting right in front of them. And they traded it for a fox sidekick and a chameleon villain that nobody is going to remember in 5 years. And here's the kicker. The deleted version of KFP 4 wouldn't have just been better emotionally. It would have completely rewired the meaning of the entire franchise. Because if Shifu and Tai Lung had reconciled, then Shifu finally would have closed the chapter that opened in 2008, and Po could have stepped into being a true successor, not just to Oogway, but to a Shifu who had finally healed. And that is the version of Kung Fu Panda that deserved to exist. So here's what I want to know. Do you think Mike Mitchell and DreamWorks made the right call by cutting that scene? Because there are people who argue that bringing Shifu and Tai Lung face to face would have stolen the spotlight from Jen and from Po, and that the sequel needed to belong to a new generation. So, in their eyes, the cut was necessary. I don't buy it. I think you can do both. I think Po could have been the hero, Jen could have been the new dragon warrior, and Shifu and Tai Lung could have gotten the closure they deserve, all in one movie. It's a writing problem, not a math problem. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe sentimentality is blinding me. So tell me in the comments, should the deleted scene have stayed in? Or do you think KFP 4 made the right call by cutting it? And here is the bigger question. Kung Fu Panda 5 is officially in development. Mike Mitchell is back, Awkwafina is confirmed, and we know Poe's role is shifting from Dragon Warrior to Spiritual Master. So this is the last realistic chance for the franchise to give us the Shifu Tai Lung reunion. They could even bring Tai Lung back as a teacher, or as a redeemed master alongside Shifu in the next film. If KFP5 ignores this story too, then the most important emotional thread in the entire franchise dies forever. And I genuinely don't know if I'll be able to forgive DreamWorks if they let that happen. So, drop a comment. Tell me what you think KFP5 should do. Should they finally fix what KFP4 broke? Or is this story dead and buried? And if you've been feeling that hole in Kung Fu Panda 4 ever since you walked out of the theater and now finally know what was missing, go hit subscribe, because I'm going through every single piece of this franchise scene by scene. There is so much more buried in these movies than people realize. See you in the next one.